We have to look at strengths to get at areas of challenge, because we often can find those strengths. And I think it's important to understand that they may not be so obvious first, but just looking at what a child is interested in, what do they spend the most time with. Then the burden comes back on us to be creative in using those interests and strengths to help that child, that individual, learn what they need to learn to be out there in activities in everyday life, to be able to be with their friends in a wide variety of situations.
You okay?
Yeah.
Do you have a good knitting day?
Mm-hmm.
What's your journal about?
About my spring break,
What'd you do?
play football.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Are you going to play for the school this year? Did you say no?
No,
What happened? I thought you really, really cared about football.
I'm not playing this year.
I don't have a reason.
You don't have a reason?
No.
Well, if I'm going to put my 5 cents in, I think that it's good for you to play football for the school. You get to know people, you get to be part of a group, and those things were really good for you before. I'm thinking that you probably shouldn't give up quite yet.
If I can find what motivates them, where they see themselves in 5 years, or what's really important to them, then why should I learn how to figure out the verbs and the predicates in this sentence, or why should I know my multiplication facts? Then if I can tie learning in to what their strength is, then it becomes valuable.
But we need to get better at helping teachers, helping parents, helping ourselves understand how can we use strengths to enhance quality of life for many kids.
Or do you want your students to live in the world of reality, or do you want them to live in the self-absorbed, withdrawn world of make-believe or idiosyncratic behaviors? No, they have to appreciate reality because they can't have judgment. They can't think without appreciating reality. That's the first step in thinking. Okay, well, the representative of reality is some human relationship outside the self.
So for the child who seems to be disconnected from the class, an important thing to do would be to see how is the child spending most of their time? What is their interest?
So if a child is really interested in weather, some people within autism language might say, well, he's obsessed with weather. However, another way to look at it is he has a deep interest in weather.
If they're interested in airplanes, is there a way to bring airplanes into the conversation, whether it's math, when you're trying to figure out how long it takes an airplane to get from one place to another, or it could be geography, where do planes fly, and when a plane lands in India, what are the differences in culture in India than in the United States? So you can find a way to work airplanes into every single subject.
Sometimes it takes one teacher in a classroom who could think out of the box, be a bit more creative, even use the arts to get at goals in academics or socialization or in other areas.
I had a student, a girl, that she drew anime characters all the time and seemed to be much more focused on her drawing than listening to what the teaching was happening in the classroom. She could use her anime drawings to do a cartoon, and we could take that into literature, and so she could actually, instead of writing her stories, her essays in just a normal paragraph format, she could do it in a cartoon format with her anime subjects.
My teacher knew I was in the music, so she let me wrap one of wrap a few of my assignments.
He was his amazing artist. How about when we do the sketching? We read a story and we're trying to understand it, and you need to sketch what happened. And what do you struggle with?
Like what's really happening.
Understanding the story.
Yeah.
So definitely sketching would definitely help you.
A lot of teachers are just set in their ways, and they aren't open to other people's learning styles. I have a very different learning style than most individuals. So when I went into a classroom, I didn't necessarily get the instruction I needed to succeed.
Because you and we've established a relationship over the years. When I first met you, what do you think you were like?
I knew I didn't like school. I didn't want to be here. When I came and I was just sitting in class, you like pushed me to work, and then like you took me to the side and explained to me like how to break it down and do my syllables and all that. So
I really wanted you to get a high school diploma. It's my thing. And I could not figure out what it was that was standing in between. So we talked about, since that's a struggle for you, planning things out. So that's homework, projects, and if that's a struggle, then we talked about little steps at school to plan things out. I think that's really going to help you in college or cosmetology school. Is that still the deal, cosmetology school?
yeah.
She's going to get the diploma. Right?
I remember in about 3rd grade, a teacher telling me that I'd never learn how to do math. And this was at the same time that I had this big stack of astronomy books on my desk. Somehow I figured out just enough math to teach statistics at the university level. Well, the good news is that today an educator would have noticed such a special interest and would hopefully work that interest into the curriculum to teach me whatever needed to be taught.
It's very rare to find a teacher who is able to accommodate all the different learning styles and who could see someone like me, see my strengths and work with them and work with me in a way that doesn't focus on what I'm doing wrong, but focuses on what I can do right.
The biggest breakthrough that changed my career with a student who would not talk to me. Every time that I would talk to her, her head would hit the desk, like that movie Breakfast Club, and I was told by her mom to just accept her the way she is. This is the way it is, and it just pained me. And when I start learning about autism and about development, I came back and I tried it on her. Oh, hop, hop, hop. Oh, there you go, there you go, there you go. Oh. I started with engagement. I found out what she liked. She liked fashion magazines and gossip magazines. And every day, I started non-verbally first. When the kids would walk into class, I would fan out these gossip fashion magazines on my desk because I knew she would look. And she'd walk by every day, and then after a while, I would say, "Do you have your book for silent reading?" And I'd hold up my gossip magazine, which I totally do not read. And then next, I initiated conversation. You know, did you know Usher broke up with his girlfriend? And then we started the relationship. And what happened is that I found out that this child had a lot of challenges that I didn't know about, that I couldn't see. And I found out about her body was, challenged, and her trunk was challenged in the chairs that we sat in were difficult for her to sit in. And that when she was leaning over on the desk, that she wasn't lazy kid that didn't want to do her work. Her body was giving out because these chairs were difficult and her body was weak. And we established this unbelievable relationship. She started producing work. She just blossomed and developed, and she ended up running for president of the school.
I look for the teachable moments. They're always there. And so, again, if you're not pressing your agenda, you have a lesson plan, you need to have a lesson plan, a daily plan of where you're going, but that needs to be flexible.
When a student's needs are different than the most of the kids in the class or all of the kids in the class, I go to that student and I set up that project for them to do in class. And that's what they need to do. Like, for instance, this young man, we were doing a storyboard of the story he was telling me. So a storyboard takes, it's sequencing, it's comprehension, and it's something that he was engaged in, got pictures off the internet. We're gonna do a storyboard. I set up the project, or whatever it is, I set it up and I let the student participate in it. And then sometimes I invite the other kids if they want to do it too. Does anybody else want to do this? And if they do, I'm just flexible. The learning is happening.
The purely cognitive processes are also prone to be delayed because of processing problems. Children with motor planning or visual spatial, or particularly severe low muscle tone or muscle asymmetry or motor asymmetries, are going to have a hard time with the perceptual motor tasks that are tied to many cognitive assessments, but may be able to do many things in the emotional and social thinking realm or reasoning realm that show that they're really cooking. They're really smart kids.